Right.
You can be vulnerable here. This is a safe space to open up. I know you generally you have a wall protecting you because you're worried that you're going to get hurt. And I've seen that with you. And
then I think that is actually my question. How do you drop your guard? How do you let people in, Alex? How are you vulnerable?
Do you think you have a problem with that?
Clearly, I do.
Well, I can't tell if you're being serious. Are you being serious?
I'm always being serious.
See that? It feels like you're not being serious. Right now, even you're having a hard time letting your guard down.
Exactly. And that's why I need help.
Okay. Daria says you're about to start sobbing and I'm close to breaking you and we just need to keep going. How do you be vulnerable? What do you guys think in the chat? How are we going to get Valter? Are there people that you're vulnerable with?
Yeah, sure. Some people.
Okay.
Two people.
Who are those people?
Close friends. Pretty much.
What about family too?
Yeah.
Not that open with family?
Sometimes.
How to make a Skarsgard vulnerable.
This is my flamethrower. It's
oh shit.
Piece it right now.
That is the least vulnerable thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that actually work?
No.
Okay. I'm Googling just something random. How to make a Skarsgard vulnerable. I don't know how to be vulnerable, dude. That's a hard question.
You wanted it to be real.
Are you trying to figure out how to be more vulnerable in general or how to be more vulnerable with people you're already close to?
I don't know. What's in general?
You seem like you hate this right now. Is that right?
No. I'm enjoying our time together.
I'm enjoying our time together too, but it feels like you're uncomfortable. You're like, let's not talk about this. That's the vibe. As an actor, I'm reading that.
You're picking up on that signal.
Yeah, we could try to think about why you're so opposed to being vulnerable in the first place. It's hard. This is a hard thing to kind of drill into directly.
Right. I don't know. Just it is what it is.
That sounds like your walls are coming up.
Well, that's what they're there for.
I don't know how to be more vulnerable, dude. I'm trying to actually think about it. You can only be vulnerable when you want to be. That's the thing. Oh, Kat said, Alex, when you told me to be more vulnerable on my episode, it freaked me out and I've been overthinking it all week.
I'm going to do that too.
I think you can be
just tells everyone to be more vulnerable.
Yeah, I guess that's like my go-to thing.
You're like, oh, you don't know what to ask. Why are your walls up? Actually, you know what? This information means that I won't be overthinking this all week. So I'm glad Kat took the hit so that I can take this with ease.
I think figuring out what feels so bad, scary about being vulnerable will help you figure out how to make it feel like not such a big thing. Daria says, Alex is obsessed with making people feel vulnerable. Yeah, I guess you just have to not care what people, I don't know. All this stuff sounds so like lame and like kind of bullshitty.
Yeah.
What's something vulnerable you could say right now?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what vulnerable things people say. Also at the same time, I'm a very private person, so I'm trying to think like how I can meet your vulnerable requirements and still have my privacy up. You know what I mean?
Right. I think maybe a way to do it is just saying how you feel. That's like being vulnerable. What's an actual problem you have right now? You got any girl troubles? You got any what you can't have a perfect life.
I don't have a perfect life, but I have a private life, and that's kind of my thing. Like I'm not sure what questions I can reasonably ask that, like, oh, I need help with this without being, because like I've grown up. This is me, or this can be me being vulnerable for you. I've grown up in a family where, from when I was born, basically, I've had to put a lot of effort into keeping my entire life private. Like I've never known a life outside of, the public eye, kind of.
Yeah.
So for me, privacy is a big part of everything, and I'm very reserved and, to a point, a little paranoid, because I've grown accustomed to people having ulterior motives, right? And in person, it's very easy. You can tell like that if you meet someone and they want to like get an in, right?
Right.
But online, it's a little harder because you don't see people for what they actually are. So I think that's as deep as I can get.
That was pretty vulnerable.
As I'm a private person.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I imagine that's pretty hard to always have your guard up and shit.
Yeah, but also at the same time, it's crucial for me. Like, we can talk about being more vulnerable, but like, yeah, maybe that might be a thing. But like, if I didn't have my guard up, I wouldn't be able to live like I do. I wouldn't have, like, growing up in my family, like it's I had, this is a survive. It's like, it's for the way I have to have it in order to survive. Because I can't afford to be naive. I've never, like, I often get this question in interviews where people are like, so what's it like growing up in a famous family, or like all of your, whatever. I did a couple interviews today and yesterday, and they often circle around to that, where they're like, I'm there to promote a project, and they're like, so what are you gonna do for Christmas? And I'm like, that's none of your fucking business. I'm not gonna tell you, and I'm not gonna tell you, so why are we wasting time? But the thing is, they always ask, like, what's it like growing up in that kind of family? And I'm like, what's it like not to? You know what I mean? For other people, I get that it's interesting and that's something people want to know, but like, I don't know what to tell you because I have no reference.
Right.
I've never been in a family where people aren't famous. My dad started acting 35 years before I was born. Like, it's like, and like, I'm not saying this like as poor me growing up in a famous family, whatever. It's just like there's like, I don't have it, like, like, what's it like not growing up in a famous family? Like, it's I don't have anything. It's hard when you have nothing to compare it to, what I mean? Right. I don't have any frame of reference because I don't know what the opposite is like. It just is what it is. And like, having my guard up, yeah, that's just how I live my life. Like, I don't know what it's like to not have to do that. Maybe I would be so much happier if I didn't have to do that. I don't think so necessarily, but I wouldn't know because I've never been there. You know what I mean? And in being in the situation that I am, having my guard up makes me way more comfortable than if I would not have my guard up, because then I would have to worry about not, being on guard.
Yeah,
pretty much.
And all that sounds like a lot. And also, it's your life, whatever.
It is what it is.
I feel like you just to say, I think you were very vulnerable there, and I think it was great.
Thank you.
I feel like I get your whole thing, your whole deal a lot more.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. And like, I feel like a thing with social media and with streaming on Twitch and stuff, like, for me, I'm in such a weird situation because since I don't have a massive following, I feel like people feel like that I'm very, reachable, right? Like, I'm attainable. Like, I'll probably see your tweet if you tweet at me, right? But at the same time, since my family is so famous as they are, I sometimes get people that are as dedicated fans as if I was fucking Justin Bieber, You know what I mean? And it's kind of weird for me. Like I have to balance like how I'm trying to just be a regular, just a guy being a dude, with also knowing that like I have to keep my privacy up and not interact too much. Like I try and stop myself from interacting on social media, because once I do, like it so quickly switches. You know what I mean? That's like if I interact a little bit and then I stop responding because I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna be on Twitter for a couple of days. Then I can get people who are like, why the fuck are you ignoring me? And people just go off. And I'm like, okay, so then, you know, this is kind of, and with Twitch even more, because then you're sitting and you're talking to the same people day after day. And obviously they're going to feel a connection. But for me, I'm trying to still hold up the, like, be quite honest with like, we don't have a personal connection. Like we can have a connection as like me towards you, like, or towards each other in terms of this chat or like a little bit on Twitter, but there's nothing more to it than that, because that's how I have to keep my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it gets muddy as hell. And I've had a lot of issues with that, being on Twitch for so long.
Yeah. I mean, it's that parasocial relationship thing.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
Right.
But but that's also part of the deal, right? Is that like they get that access, and yeah, so it's weird. I mean,
right. But it's just, they get that access, but then it's hard for them. Obviously, I'm not putting any blame. Of course, it's going to be hard to know where the limit goes.
Right. It's like, what
because
is that
I
line?
can't be like, this is where the limit is, because like it's so, it gets like personal, but at the same time, I'm trying to keep it not that personal. And like, it's hard. So that's why I try and be quite honest with it. Like we're not friends. You know what I mean? Like me and my chat, like most of those people, like, yeah, I appreciate the support. We can sit there and we can laugh, and we can talk, and we can fuck around, we can have fun. They don't know me. You know what I mean? And I have, I'm the same way with forming like actual friendships online as well. Like with you or with Llama or whatever. Because I'm still, as I said, I'm still reserved, even if it's like we're talking privately for a long time or whatever, and like actually talking outside of the public eye or whatever. And it is way more personal.
Yeah.
I still like, even people that I know quite well from online, I'd still think 3, 4, 5 times before I actually met up with anyone. Because I'm like, okay, well, if we meet up, that's for real then. And then I'm actually letting you into my life. So being like Twitter friends for me is different from real life friends. It's a strange thing. And the thing is, there's so much you don't know about someone in that scenario too, right? Right. Like you can get along super well, and like that person, it feels like, and like you have this connection. And then all of a sudden, like, and this has happened to several people that I knew through Twitter, all of a sudden they get canceled or whatever, or something happens, and it's like people are like, oh, it turns out this person was a piece of shit. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm kind of glad I didn't get super involved in all of this. And for me now, it's easier to just step back if this person turns out to be a piece of shit.
Right.
But for some people who are invested, it gets muddied then, obviously, because they're like, wait, this is someone I'm so close with, and now I find this stuff out, right? But like, take my best friends in real life, like the odds are, it would be very unlikely that something would come out that I wouldn't already know. You know what I mean? Like,
what do you mean?
It would be like, I know my best friends in real life so well that if they were shitty people, I would know it by now, right? Like, it's not going to be like all of a sudden someone's like, oh yeah, so by the way, this is what your best friend of 10 years is actually like.
Yeah.
Like, no, I know him inside and out. You know what I mean? Like, we're family. So I would have found out if he was an asshole long before now. You know what I mean? Because like online, even though people really well, there's still a barrier, and like,
there's sort of
they choose what to show you.
Yeah, there's like a faux intimacy sometimes.
Exactly, and and that's why I'm like I actually had this conversation in a group chat a couple of days ago, where I was like, I don't get involved in this stuff because it gets messy and it gets complicated, and like, I'm the same way with speaking up about issues online as well overall. Like if I'm engaged in an issue and I like, okay, I have a standpoint on this issue and I have the information, then obviously I'll take a stand and use my platform for what I think is right.
Yeah.
But if I don't feel like I have enough information, like, even though my gut might be like, oh, this definitely is like this way, whatever. Like my opinion would definitely be this in this scenario.
Mhm.
But if I'm not 100% sure, I'm not going to go out and talk about it because I don't know exactly what happened. And I don't want to be there and form a bunch of opinions and make other people form opinions if maybe I'm in the wrong because I don't have the whole picture. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I don't always, have the emotional energy to get involved in all of these topics and all of these issues and all of these things.
Totally.
So then I'd rather just stay back and be like, okay, I see what's happening here. I get that this seems to be the general consensus of the situation, but I don't have enough information and I don't have the emotional energy to take this upon myself to get all this information. And for me personally, it might not be something that I would need to speak up on anyway. You know what I mean?
Right,
so that's what I'd rather just stay back. And it's the same with group chats and with people like that. I'm like, okay, but I don't know everything, and we can fuck around and have fun and be friends, but like I'm because I am so private, and no one online knows me for real.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the thing that often comes up, how people like on my Twitch, they're like, oh yeah, Valter's such an asshole. And everyone on Twitter like, yeah, you're a fucking asshole. I'm like, of course I am, because that is my Twitter.
That's your persona.
Yeah. Right. That's my persona. And it's not like I'm like, oh, I'm going to go online and be an asshole for fun. It's just like that's kind of part of my wall, right? Like I'm like that because we're fucking around, and that way we can be friendly, but also I keep you at a distance because I'm a little rude, but in a funny way. So that's
right.
Ways of forming a friendship, but also keeping distance, right?
It's like both charming and distance creating.
Exactly. It creates distance, but it also creates a little bit of a friendship. And it's easier to connect to control that, right? Because if I'm just super nice, then I'm like, okay, then I feel like people are gonna fall in and I'm gonna have to take on too much more than I'm able to. While as in real life, I've a really hard time being mean to people. Like I feel bad so easily. Like I could never actually be mean to someone. Right. Like, and like if you'd ask anyone who actually knows me, I'm a really nice person, and that's not me tooting my own horn. That's like one thing that I actually know is true about myself. But that's also the problem. Like I am that kind of guy. So if I was that open towards Twitter, and I've been in this situation many times where people then come and they're like, oh, so these are all my issues. And I'm not capable of saying, no, I don't want to help you with this. And then all of a sudden I'm taking on everybody else's issues and I can't even deal with my own shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? So instead I'm an asshole, and people are like, and then someone who knows me, they're like, well, actually Walter's a nice guy. And then I was like, yeah, sure he is. And I'm like, that's kind of my point. You don't know who I am. Right. Because I've never shown who I really am online, because that would open doors that I don't want to open. You know, like I don't have that much problem with Twitch anymore, because I kept running into this issue for a while with people, and then those people started going away, because I was like, I'm not gonna let you in more than this, and I'm being frank with this, and I'm gonna have this kind of persona. I'm gonna be rude in a charming way, whatever, and people are gonna be like, oh, you're a fucking asshole. I'm like, fine, then I am a fucking asshole. I know that I'm not. And this is how I have to deal with this, so that we can have a good time when I'm streaming, right?